Hi, how are you? Asante, asante.
All right, maybe we could start. I will invite Mr. Dominic to introduce himself, his background, his proficiency, all that good stuff. Then he can start the presentation.
Thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's talk. My name is Dominic Matthew, and I'm a PM. I like to identify as a senior PM. I'm actually have been doing this for about 9 years now. So let me just actually just share through my LinkedIn profile. I think which will be easier to go through. Anyone who hasn't added me can do so. So yeah, so okay, yeah, thanks. So yeah, so I'm just currently out from Antler. And those who know that Antler is an accelerator program, so what they do is that they want to pair up founders who have domain expertise in their industries for about 8 years and above, and mostly looking for founders who want to build startups. So yeah, so I was in the cohort for which we call the ninth cohort of Antler. And what we've been doing there is just working with teams, being put in sprints. So for sprints is what you call where you're paired up in different groups. You're given case studies to be able to kind of solve problems in different industries. So it will go from working in social impact or as a general, or looking at energy or clean energy, or jumping into right into like fintech, agriculture, whatever industry that you like. So they put you in about 5 design sprints. They are the ones who choose, and after the 5 weeks, then you're able to pair up yourselves. So essentially, they want to put guys to be in teams of about 2 to 3 maximum, because as a founding team, you can't be more than that. And also the amount of funding that they give you, which is 100,000 USD for 10% equity, you can't really do much with it. So they try to want you to be in a small team. So with complementary skills. For example, one of you has to be a CEO, probably another one has to be a CTO. And if you're going to be three of you, then you might need a COO or a CPO. But also sometimes you find that your team, you might be addressing a problem where you don't have domain expertise. So maybe your background is in marketing, but you're working in insurance. So you might need to also be able to hire out somebody from insurance and probably give them equity. Previously, before, I used to work at iProcure. So iProcure is the largest agricultural supply chain in rural Africa. So what they do, they manage business. So they give actually, so in the supply chain, they're actually in all points from the manufacturer all the way to the farmer. So we used to have three apps. So we used to have a USSD app, which you just dial *606, and you'll be able to actually order goods and be able to collect it from the nearest agri dealer. We also had a web application whereby mostly used by distributors, so the ones who sell to the agrovets, and also the agrovets had a small mobile point to sell system that they can use to manage their businesses. So iProcure was started in 2013. So one of the highlights, I'd say, was currently they've had about 17.2 million VC funding. We have partnerships, or they have partnerships with Safaricom on DigiFarm. We have a project with WFP to just support the agro dealers. We have another uh, project we call FIPS. So FIPS is called our Farm Inputs Promotion Services. So they also work with agro dealers and village-based advisors who go out to come and visit the farmers, teach them about best practices, and also, yeah, so there are a number of partnerships that we're working on. And they also kind of also give loans to these agro dealers. So one of the things that we were trying to do there was to kind of come up with a now pay later options where we can advance working capital to these agro dealers. So yeah, so and also we work in 3 countries, so Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And one of the things that I can say about that, so we in Uganda and Tanzania, we actually just are pushing out the point of sale system, but in Tanzania, we're now looking into also pushing up the farm inputs. Previously, before that, I was at a company called Newman Cafe Group. It's the largest exporter of coffee in the world. It's actually a very interesting business because it was started in the 1800s, was operating in Kenya even before independence. I think the company is worth around 30 billion euros. And I said it's actually a family business. And one of the things, the challenges that we're trying to solve is that coffee production in the world actually was reducing in about 10 years, it had gone for the production from its producer countries had reduced by about 60%. And if you're an exporter of coffee and you're getting your supplies from all these producers and the quantity reducing, that means your customers won't have that. So they wanted to be able to look at what challenges are farmers facing, and they noticed that most of them don't have water, and they wanted to be able to give out a kind of like short-term loans to these farmers. So we were working in 3 continents and over 10 markets. So you're looking at Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Honduras, Brazil, and Mexico. And we're working with about 1 million coffee families just to be able to make coffee sustainable and to make the industry thrive. After that, or before that, I was at Elimu. So Elimu is the leading digital educational content provider in East Africa, and we were working in a few donor-funded projects. The European Union, a company called Qualcomm, wireless to produce microchips. So and one of the things that we had our own apps for KCSE, KCPE, some learning applications for Swahili and English and maths for kids under the age of, so basically primary and high school education. Last, another company called Pulse. So Pulse is actually an innovative media agency. It used to be owned by Ringia. Ringia is also a family business. originating from Switzerland, but I literally learned that they sold their company out. They were able to exit, I think, for about 50. So yeah, so that's kind of like on my background, and I'm happy just to share with you. I wanted to give you context about what I've done. I have an education back marketing from Strathmore. Later on, I did an executive program in strategy and marketing in Brazil, just to be able to kind of polish up my marketing skills. And then after that, I studied at a school called Core Business School in Italy, where I was doing international management. So we kind of see that the courses I'm taking were kind of reliant in bringing my career to do products, because product is also an aspect of marketing. Finally, oh no, last also, I was privileged to actually be a Harvard Business School fellow. So by in a program called Crossroads Emerging Leaders Program, which was a fully funded career development opportunity. So funded by the Harvard Business School Club of the Gulf Cooperation Council. So actually, there were 90 students selected from Africa and Middle East. So the program was held in Dubai, and we were able just to be able to be taken through like Harvard Business School case study method of teaching and learning. There was also a mock accelerator program where we were able to. So there were already people who are in a real life accelerator program, but for us, we're just in the mock just to see how they were able to tackle problems, work with customers, trying to build up solutions that are going to change the world. So it was hosted in Dubai. And Dubai by 2075 is going to be its 100-year anniversary, and Dubai wants to be the leading economy in the world. So they had their own Big Four agenda, and they're inviting people from everywhere in the world to come help them reach attain that goal. So they were just picking up startups from anywhere. I remember I met this guy. I've forgotten his name, but he's the one who built the AI kind of social screening solution. The one that if you're walking the streets, the cameras are able actually to identify each and every person, pull out their profiles all at a go in a street, even if you're facing on your back, the camera is able to actually to identify you. So I think that was a crazy person to meet. And yeah, so I think in short, let me just jump into our what brought us today here in terms of how do you win or how do you crack a product management case study. Um, one second. So yeah. So what skills do they look for when you're being assessed in a product management case study? So one of the things that the hiring manager is looking at is they're trying to look at, do you have any strategy skills? So, most of the time, product managers have to, there's so many requests, there's so many features, many problems to solve, but you have to be able to assess and look at what inputs can I bring about together, and then build a roadmap whereby we feel like if we solve these problems, the business actually able to generate revenue, but also solving the customer's biggest problem. So there are usually many problems that you can solve for someone, but not all of them have a high return on investment. Some of the problems you'll be tackling are not big enough, or not really a bigger problem. So you have to actually sit down with the customer, understand what are the bigger pain points, understand also which one has the minimum effort that will give you the maximum ROI. Another skill set that they look at is user-centered design. How are you focusing on the customer? Are you able to predetermine their needs and their wants? Are you able to actually understand what challenge is it sometimes? Enabled so that you can build a successful product whereby the customer is actually able to be satisfied, their needs and wants are able to be satisfied. So the third thing that they look at is cross-functional leadership, because most of the time product managers are actually leaders. It's more of a strategy role. You won't be on the ground doing a lot of work, but they want to understand how you're able to work with different teams, how you're able to be the domain experts and be able to bring about all the different departments in your business to be able to solve these customers' problems. So mostly in a PM role, you'll be working with sales team, the finance team, the marketing. You could be working with sales, procurement, inventory, just depending on the kind of industry you're in, legal. And so yeah. And last but not least is data analysis. So as we say, when you're working in product, data is key. Just don't make decisions out of assumption. So you need to be able to actually have actionable data. And before you make a decision, you have to show the numbers. Do the numbers say that you have to go left or right? Are you able to to be able to also interpret this data, you're able to query and understand actually and deep dive into and get insights as to actually what the customer is saying. So that's another thing that helps. So how you, and one of the things also with data is how you do measure progress. And sometimes progress could be looking anyway. Sometimes, for example, if your metrics, and the different kind of metrics, some are positive, some are negative. So example, if your churn rate is going higher, that's a bad thing. But if your revenue shows that it's going higher, it's a good thing. So how are you able to discern that, to be able to say, okay, these are kind of our KPIs, and we're able to show our progress and success. Yeah, so one of the skills I said are problem solving and critical thinking. So what steps are you supposed to do? So first is you have to be able to identify the problem. So most of the time they'll give you a real life scenario and you're supposed to go through it and understand. So first you understand the market that this product that's in. Are you able to identify which is the biggest problem out of what the case study has solution is there, and how are you able to then look at it and understand, okay, this is exactly what the problem is. Because most of the time we find that these case studies will give you a lot of information and just try to bombard you, but are you able to read through and understand, okay, this is what they're asking for? And then with that, you kind of explore the options. So you have to actually be able to generate ideas, come up with at least 8 of them, and trying to see, okay, these are the main points that I'm seeing through, and then you kind of break them out. So when you're selecting the solution, you have to actually now you choose the best solution, and you create a roadmap that you can with metrics to measure success. So anytime, as we said, we are as product managers, you have to be data driven. So you have to be able to say, what does success look like? What should we measure? Because sometimes you find that people are just usually guessing, and you don't really assume. So you have to have a way or a targets that will help you drive the direction of the team and what you're trying to work on. The second skill that they look for is communication and collaboration. So when you're working in products, you really have to be able to sell a story. Just don't talk about like what the problem is. But so one of the ways usually PMs are advised to do is actually talk to customers and tell them what problems your product will solve for them. Don't tell them you have these kind of features, but tell them how this product meets their needs. So for example, M-Pesa would not say, oh, you can just, but able to say, you know what, they used to target people like, oh, you can buy goods and services, you can be able to get loans. So you look at the benefits that the customer is getting, and that's how you communicate. One of the second things is stakeholder management. So when you're working in product, as I said, you're the core person in this product, and you work with very many aspects of people within the product development cycle. So how are you able to get the buy-in of all the stakeholders? How are you able to work with cross-functional teams and communicate with them regularly? How are you able to update them on the progress of the product development and all of that? And the other last aspect of communication and collaboration is customer feedback. As you said, you're here to solve the customer's problems. So it's always important to be able to use different tools and measures to be able to get this feedback from the customers. You have to be regularly updating them. Most of the times you might find bugs, and you have to really be able to sit down with your customer almost every day just to understand what problems are you facing, what other problems are you can I be able to solve for you? So that's why you look at things like customer lifetime value, like how do I make you a repeat customer so that you're satisfied, and then you have to put this within the roadmap so that you solve the biggest challenges that they're facing. Another skill that they look for is user empathy and research. So usually have to create personas. So because you have to really understand who your user is, and you have to go deep dive, understand what are their interests, what are their pain points, who is this customer, what's their age, where are their demographics, where are they located. And most of the time, to get these personas, you have to conduct kind of qualitative research. So you have to do interviews, you have to do usability testing, you have to understand how are the UX UI issues that they're facing. So yeah, so that's actually the second part of user empathy and research. And after that, also you have to use quantitative. So qualitative could be like so quantitative is more on the numbers, right? So you have to understand like usage password. So these are not where the metrics come in. So if you're looking at what's the NPS score, what's the churn rate, what's the daily active users, monthly active users. So this is where it comes about. So that's the third skill that they usually try to assess in a product manager case study interview. And the last thing is strategic thinking and decision making. So when how are you doing market research? Do you understand your target markets? Are you able to actually understand where your competitors, and when you're looking at the industry that this case study is in, are you able to understand what trends are occurring? For example, now if you're in the fintech industry, you look at M-Pesa, everyone's trying to move cashless. So is the solution actually going with the trend? There are also regulatory things that are coming up. So are you able actually to understand what's happening in the industry? Then you can develop a strategic plan that aligns with the trends that are occurring in the industry. Also, in strategic, the other skill they look for is, are you able to make data driven decisions? So are you using customer usage data to look at areas where you can improve and make data driven decisions about what the team will work on in terms of developing the product. And last but not least, because a business is here to make money, so you need to be able to understand what are financial implications of the product that you're working. So any decision you try to do, any enhancement, any development that you have to do, it has to be able to come about and say, this is how we will make money. Otherwise, all of you are not in business. And the only way you can make money is make your customers happy. And you also want to work on a product or a solution that has the least cost with the highest returns. And you need to be able to actually look at projections. So how much money do you think we make in year one for this quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four? What do you have to reduce? And you can find that in a lot of businesses, you have seasons. So you have to actually understand and incorporate, okay, how do I, and also understand what runway you have. A lot of startups, you have minimal resources. So you have to be able to be cost efficient while maximizing on revenue. So yes, I think that's that for what they look for. So as I said, conclusion and key takeaways. So for problem solving, you have to be able to have a effective roadmap to solve your customer problems. Communication is getting buy-in from cross-functional teams and stakeholders. User empathy and research, you have to have incorporate user-centered design principles. And as you said, for strategic thinking and decision making, you have to be able to formulate and execute long-term strategic planning for this. So let me jump right ahead to how the case study, um, how it looked like. So in any point of product management, um, you have the UX, which is the user experience, you have the tech, and you have the business. So as a product manager, you're kind of like in the middle. So are you able to put yourself at the center to be able to incorporate all these three facets together to be able to build a successful product? So I'll give you an example of a case study here. So what's the challenge here? You find that a leading e-commerce company wants to expand its operations to a new international market. So the solution here that they want you to do is develop a market entry strategy, considering cultural nuances, local competition, and regulatory requirements. So most of the case studies might not give you a recommendation, but like this example that you have here, they are giving you a recommendation. So how do you outline specific steps to successfully enter the new markets, including target audience analysis, pricing strategy, and marketing initiative? So one thing I want to mention about case studies is that there's really no right answer. It's just about, do you actually be able to explain your solution? Are you able to highlight what they're looking for? So most of the times you find that different case studies will give you different recommendations of what they're looking for to and how they'll judge your criteria or the success of your case study. So as I said, there's no really right answer. So yeah. So the first thing you have to do is be able to identify the problem. So what exactly is the problem here? So you have to be able to research the market, look at what challenges guys are facing, and who is your target audience. So who is this product targeting? So sometimes other products, for example, let's say Uber targets both drivers and the passengers. So you have to understand what are their different personalities and interests, and also you have to look at the industry trends so that you can identify the pain points and opportunities. Another key thing is that you actually have to talk to the users. So you find that if you're given a case study, you just don't guess what it's also told. It's just good to talk to one or two customers. I know you might be solving for a remote job, but you can also just look at who is around you, who is also using a similar product, and be able just to interview them to understand what they're having. So you can either do share survey or just talk to someone one-on-one or have a focus groups so you can get insights into what are their needs and wants, what challenges or what pain points are they having, and what do they expect from this product that you're solving, or how would they expect their problem that they're facing to be solved. And then are you able to analyze this data Are you able to look at what feedback your customers have given you, and from the market research that you've done, how are you able to uncover any patterns, and are you really identify the most significant problem? As I said, customers face a ton of problems, but not all of them are big enough to be solved. After that, as I said, so when you gather user feedback, so how can you gather this? So either you can do surveys, so you can actually distribute surveys. So it could be easier. You can have Google Forms, you can use Typeform. And one of the things about surveys that we say, you don't ask leading questions. You have to be able to know to ask the right question, because otherwise the customer will just lead you on. And most of the times you find the mistake people do is that people will ask the customer a question that it's like you already answer, so you kind of sway them to that which is incorrect. Also, user testing. So sometimes if you already built the product, it's always good to just have a prototype so that the users can be able to interact with the product, so you can actually understand, is this a solution you're looking out for? Does this work for you? What other improvements are there? So usually most of the time you can have 2 or 3 prototypes so that they can be able to actually test out different sets of the products. And then also you can conduct A/B testing, or just because actually your customers will provide for you proper feedback. And the last, when you're gathering feedback, you can just also sometimes you have to look at the interactions they're using within the app itself, so that you can, because sometimes customers will tell you X but they're doing Y. So sometimes, so you can use Google Analytics, you can use Mixpanel. So there are many tools that you can be able to observe um, in the back end to be able to understand what this customer is going through. Analyzing market trends. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to do competitor analysis. So who are your competitors? What are their strengths and weaknesses? What are their pricing strategies? What are they charging? Because most of the time you need to be able for your product to be unique. So you're looking at what's your unique selling point as opposed to your competitors. And also one of the things, also identify potential gaps that they have that can make your product better. Second thing will be emerging technology. So how do you stay updated with the emerging technology to be able to leverage innovative solutions and gain a competitive edge? So as I said, technology is your source. So you need to be able to look about what can I use to make my life easier and to make the life of my customers easier. So if you look at, for example, M-Pesa, they're able to use mobile phones to be able to actually offer digital banking services to their customers who are also in remote areas. So, and that actually gives you a competitive edge. And demographics. So you have to, as I said, you have to understand where your customers are. You have to be able to segment them. So sometimes you have your premium customers, you might have your regular customers, and then you also might have guys who are not really active or inactive, but you still have to think of them and say, okay, these are the guys I'm going to. It's a product targeting women, it's targeting school-going kids. And usually when you're looking at customer demographics, you have your end user and you have your customer. So your customer could be a parent who's paying for a solution that the child is using. So you need to be able to look into that, understand what are their preferences, their behaviors, and their purchasing habits and their purchasing power, because that also informs you how much you're going to charge them, how you're going to target them, how are you going to do your marketing to be able to do your outreach. And then once you go through that, you have to now able to brainstorm solutions. So you can either form a team, but in a kind of a case study solution, you're usually by yourself, but still you can always bring in your friends or your peers who you guys support each other. For example, this product management group, so that they can give you different perspective or different ideas, or you can just bounce back and tell them, okay, this is the direction I'm trying to go for. Do you think it works? And then you have to now come up with creative ideas to solve this problem. So most of the time we encourage for out of the box thinking. So how do you come up with this? So you can come up with techniques like mind mapping, which mind mapping essentially is you have one main problem and then you break it down into different kind of ways. So for example, if you're saying, okay, I want to do marketing this way, you look at what are the different forms of marketing, which are the best ones that I can use to target my customers. And then of course prioritization is key. As I said, as a PM you'll get so many requests, but not all of them require the time and effort to be able to. So you really have to be able to use a lot of techniques. So you can either use the Moscow method or impact effort analysis, which you call the RICE framework, so that you can look at prioritize the solution based on their potential impact and feasibility. So most of the time people usually just get requests, and it's basically out of assumption. So this is also where your data analysis skills come in. So you look at, okay, if we go with solution X as opposed to Y, we'd actually be able to increase our daily active users, increase our revenues, and also work with most of the time you have to work with very different teams, and also you have to be able to negotiate with them, because when you're getting very many requests, you have to understand them. You have to give them a reason why we're working with solution X as opposed to Y. So yeah, and then this is where I think this is usually where the hard part is when you're developing a prototype. So, but you can start with really wireframes, so which are low fidelity. You can even just draw them on a piece of paper, just to kind of give you a structure and layout of how your product would look like. And then they're actually prototyping tools now. You can use either Figma or you can use Sketch to design. But luckily in 2023 with AI, there are now many sets of tools that already have you can just actually, once you draw your low fidelity, you can take a picture. So I use a tool called Wizard. Actually, I'll show you the link after I finish this. And you can be able to just take a picture and it kind of generates for you a prototype or a nice wireframe, high fidelity wireframe. So once you have your prototype, then this one you gather feedback from your customers or your users, and then if need be, if you get a negative feedback, you have to make the necessary adjustments so that they can enhance the user experience. Okay, the last part is now being able to test and iterate. So we usually have a test called UATs. So you have to be able to, and this is where also you do A/B testing. So talk to your customers, have a focus group, let them play around with the solution, let them test it out. So usually for pilots, you can give them about 2 to 3 weeks for them to just keep using. And always, so try, one of the things here is you have to actually engage your customers. You have to be able to understand which customers are willing to give me feedback and actually give me adequate information about if this product actually meets the expectation, it's performing as intended. If not, as I said, you go back, make adjustments. Another thing now is also you have to look at data. Because, for example, if your active users are reducing, then that means it's a challenge with your product. And that's where you can look at. So that's when you can now look at this customer and tell them what challenges is it, what isn't our solution working on, or what's the problem here. And then you can make these changes towards that. And of course, continuous learning. So it's always good to embrace a culture of continuous learning within the team and incorporating user feedback into each iteration of the product. So these are some of the things also you have to highlight in your case study. And then once you've done your prototype, once you have your focus group, and everything is working out as expected, you can now start also now launching. So these are the part now you have to come up with a go-to-market strategy. So you have to understand, okay, this is how I'm going to tackle it. So when you're looking at your go-to-market strategy, you usually have the 4 P's of marketing. So product, price, place, and promotion. So how are you going to do your marketing campaign, how you're going to onboard your customers, how much are you going to charge for this solution, and how you're going to have targeted communication so that your customers know that there's this beautiful solution out there and it can help you solve all the problems that you're facing. Second thing is you have to have metrics that you can use now to track, like what does success look like. I know we already mentioned that before. So you can look at what are our user acquisition, what are our conversion rates. So sometimes if your product you're having a free trial, you have to look, okay, from these customers who actually use the free trial, how many of them are converting into paid users? As I said, our business is there to make money. And if your customers are not paying for your solution, that is it really good enough? And then, of course, you have to look like how satisfied are they with your product and how many of them would recommend your product to other kind of people in the same line. So most of the time, that's what we call the customer acquisition cost. So if your customer acquisition cost actually going lower, then it's a good thing. But if you have to invest more money, then that means there's a problem there. And of course, now looking at the user feedback. So establish a feedback loop with users so you can ever have in the impact where they can either do ratings. I know sometimes, for example, in a Google Meet, every time you end the call or WhatsApp call, they always ask you to rate the experience of the call. So if the score is actually a bit low, they'll ask you what was the problem. So this is the same thing that your product should have, so that you can be able to get this feedback from the customers. Some people might skip it, so but also you have to be able to find other ways to contact them and get information about them. So allow me to just show you a case study that I worked on um, before. So on a company that was called EduHub. So EduHub was this was I won't say the company that was offered me this case study, but I'll just show you how it looked like. So this was the introduction. Well, actually, before I jump into this, is there anyone with any question, any clarification about any information before I move ahead? Yes, Lillian.
So my question is, do they typically give you time to work on this, like maybe 1 week or something, or is it like on the spot there?
Oh no, so I know most companies will give you about 3 to 5 days, depending on how easy the solution is. So, and also case studies come in different forms. They might give you a question to tackle for data analysis. So you might find that one will just be an Excel kind of a question where you're supposed to look at the data and come up with metrics, or look at what are potential, looking at the revenue and understanding, does this potential solution make sense. So most of the time they do give you time, because they know you're busy, you're probably already working somewhere else. Sometimes you just need to be able to take time to talk to your customers, doing the research. And actually now, yeah, so they are most, let me just say, in general, they actually give you time. Is that okay?
Yeah, thanks.
Anyone else with a question? So if no one else has a question, let me just show you an example of a case study that I worked on. So yeah, the question was EduHub. So EduHub aims to create an online platform that connects students with tutors and offers various educational resources. So they're seeking guidance on their product strategy and design. EduHub has approached you with the following challenges and goals. So one, define the target audience and user personas. I think we've seen that in the puppet that I showed you, that you have to understand who your customers are and what are their user personas. Create a product roadmap aligning the key features and milestones for the first 12 months. So we're working on a roadmap. Companies want short-term and long-term strategies, so you have to understand what are we doing in quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4, and what would success look like for the roadmap. Thirdly, is you have to design a user-friendly and engaging user interface for their web platform, and also develop a monetizing strategy. So I think number three is where a lot of people actually, the challenge is coming up with a user interface, but I'll give you tips on that as well. So as I said, the first thing, so one of the things that I did with my survey, I actually shared um, a Google form with questions. Just I shared it on WhatsApp group just to understand, people in different groups. I think I also shared it in this group that we're in for product managers, just to understand what the customers are having and the likes. And these were the results of my survey. So 23% talked about that reliability is very difficult to find reliable tutors. So if you're in Kenya, finding reliable tutors is very difficult. 45% of the respondents also say that there are no platforms to access local tutors. And 89% of the respondents say that existing platforms are either too pricey, so these are for the students, or offer low pay, and these are now for the tutors themselves. So you see, for me here, I've actually showing that what data have I gotten from my survey. It shows that I'm looking to understand what challenges the customers are facing, and now this actually gives me a win. One of the things I'll tell you about your presentation, you have to ensure that it's lively, it's colorful, and very simple. You don't want to have it has too many words. So, for example, for the metrics, that's what should be highlighted mostly. Who's the target audience? It's always very important to show that you understand who this product is targeting. So for example, of EduHub, we had tutors, independent tutors, certified teachers, and educational professionals, and students who are seeking to acquire new skills. So you can see I looked at the geographics. So where are they? Where are our customers? I said 90% live in Kenya. And for both students and tutors, what age are they? So I said for the tutors, average age, 70% of them said that they're over the age of 30. And for students, most of them are between 18 and 34. So what are their interests? What's the main interest for them using this solution? So I said 65% of the tutors want to make extra income, and 89% of the students want to learn or acquire new skills. So when you actually have something to show like this, it shows that you really understand who your customers are, what are their interests, that you can now cater your solution to serve both the interests of the tutors and the students. User persona. So here you really have to go in depth. And just looking into who the persona is. So I said, and you have to show that you've really studied your potential user. So I looked at Wendy Kimani. This is just it's not a real person. So they are students. They can't live in Nairobi. I said they finished an undergraduate degree in marketing and is looking to pivot into a UX UI role. So what are their core needs? They need to find people with similar skills that can help her learn new skills, have a flexible curriculum with a local tutor, and also the price of the service is very important. So they want to make it low and affordable. their frustrations. So you're looking at their pain points here. So you say the price is high related to quality they provide. Also say the time zone with available tutors is a big hindrance, and there's not really much choice and comparison not available. So when you're looking at other potential solutions to use, they're not really much available. And she says that I'm used to study online by myself, but I feel like it's limiting. So I want to look at what are the competing brands that they already use. So she said she uses Coursera, she uses LinkedIn Learning, there's edX, Udemy, and LX. What's kind of their personality? So extrovert, I'm a reader. She says she's a spender and tech savvy. And what payment mediums has she used? So mostly M-Pesa. So that means that when you're looking into what potential solution to have, you have to enable her to be able to pay through M-Pesa. So this is where you really need to be able to get deep into the user persona. Just don't say your customer is this person and that. So you really have to go deep diving into who they are. And then for the tutor here, I said Lemo, forget the age. Lemuel is a real person, but yeah, so he used to be a product manager at ALX. He's looking to expand his services. So what are his core needs? He wants to empower the next generation of product leaders, and he wants to use his spare time to make some extra income. For him, he said the service needs to be seamless. And his biggest frustration is that there are no platforms to tutor African students, and the ones that are available have low pay and you have to really work for longer hours. And he said that most payment options don't have mobile money services, so you have to use PayPal, and the ones which really don't work for people in Africa. So what does he say? He says it would be good to be able to impact the next generation from the comfort of my home. What brands has he used before? So he says Alex, YouTube, Coursera, and LinkedIn Learning. So for him, what are your preferred payment medium choices? So he said either cash or check or any digital payment. So when it comes to the platform, what platform does he want to use? He said he'd rather use a web platform. So here I've covered both the student and the tutor. So you're able to actually now pinpoint what struggles both are facing. And when you're coming up with a solution, you then be able to cater towards both of them. So one thing also you have to really show is how does these two people align to the mission and vision of this business. So I said for the students are key to target for EduHub as they often seek subject-specific tutoring and academic support. And then for the what else? Also, the students can so EduHub can then offer specialized resources and tutoring options tailored to the needs of college and university students. So, and also anyone who's looking to upskill themselves. So, by supporting these students, EduHub will foster educational growth and achievement at a higher level of learning. So this one, how by serving students, how do you align with them? And for the tutors, you say that they are the ones who will provide this educational expertise and support needed by these students. So that EduHub can offer tutors a platform to showcase their skills, to find students who are willing to learn and be able to access resources that enhance their teaching capabilities. So when you enable tutors to connect with students, so EduHub will be able to fulfill its mission of facilitating effective learning through qualified educators. So this is actually a very key important slide to have there, just to see, okay, how did these two align to the mission or goals of what our product is trying to do? Because I'm assuming this company was set up to offer a service in a certain way. So how do those two kind of user personas align with that? So the solution here, it's important to have these slides. Remember what they said, they wanted a web platform interactive user. So you have to just come in here, and I said improve your skills with EduHub. So for the students, they'll be able to get access to a certified tutor and educational resources. And then for the tutors here, they'll be able to increase their income while impacting the next generation of talent. So when you're working on the UI of this, you just have to be able to make it look lively, look nice, simple. You don't have to fill in everything. Like for me, you can see that the gray areas here were, I just didn't have to do the most here, but just to be able to show how would your dashboard look like. It's always good to have. So I was able to also just show how it will look on the mobile apps as an extra tick. So in most of these case studies, just try to show the extra mile, because you can still be able to access a web platform through your phone. So it's always good to also have a slide just to show how it look like. So in here, you can see I have tabs for the courses, for the tutors, message. So I just said EduHub is available on both iOS and Android. Monetization strategy. So this is one of the things that they asked for in the case study. So the question is, how are you able to monetize this product? As I said, it costs resources to build a solution. So what are the ways that your product can make money? Otherwise, are you a charity business? So one of the ways that I said was subscription ties. So you can either offer to cater for the various user needs. So you can have a basic package, a premium, or even an enterprise. You can have a pay per tutor session. So allow students to pay for individual tutoring sessions on a per hour basis so that while tutors can set their own rates depending on the level of expertise. You can have inner purchases, so have a way people can be able to go to a shop and either buy learning resources, have virtual study tools, or any other advanced feature that you may offer. Another way that you can make money is having referral programs. So reward users who refer new students or tutors to the platform. So with either discounts, you can have premium features, monetary incentives, cashbacks, and the likes. One of the other ways to monetize would be partnerships. So you can either collaborate with schools, colleges, and universities who then will provide custom tailored versions of Edward for their students. So sometimes you find a school with good curriculum, so you can have them onboard them on the platform and then be able to offer these courses to now the students. One important thing for here is to have certification programs. So either certifications for tutors to undergo certification just to demonstrate their expertise in that subject matter, and also for the students themselves, be able to offer them certificates so that they can show, okay, when I use this platform, I was able to gain something which they can then add to their LinkedIn profile or their resume. So that's on the monetization strategy and a roadmap. So this was the last thing that they asked for. Could you want to plan out your 12 months in advance? So for me, I said, of course, the first month, September to January. So you have the objectives. You want to be able to set measurable targets. You want to talk to your customers through surveys, focus groups, in-person interviews, in-depth analysis. So remember, it's almost like you're starting out. So you have to be able to show that you're doing your research, you're understanding your customer, you're looking at the markets and understanding. You're really going deep dive into that. And then, of course, once you've gotten all your data, now you want to be able to build an MVP, which is a minimum viable product, and also have a pilot group to be able to test and give you feedback. So that was from my September to January 21st. Those are the milestones. So, and then I looked at the enhancements. So once you've already built your MVP and you have your pilot group who is giving you feedback, I'm sure you'll always get bugs. I think bugs are one of the most common things to find when you're looking at a product. So you have to be able to fix these bugs, make improvements within the features. You can also improve the UI, UX, and also develop an onboarding processes. So not most of your customers will be interacting with your product for the first time, and you may not have resources to onboard each and everyone. So how do you have a nice wizard that will tell them, okay, this is where you can find your profile, here where you can, go to home. If it's an e-commerce site, this is where you can add to carts, you can look for discounts here and the likes. And then content expansion. So when you're starting out, I'm sure you're going to offer probably just one or two kind of lessons, but then going forward, you need to be able to increase so that you increase your user base as well. Also, you can also have training materials that the students can use for actually both students and tutors, and also have interactive learning tools. So either having voice messaging, have videos and the likes. And now this is the point that you can now start onboarding the tutors, because you want to first be able to just give guys a few lessons to start with, and then as you're growing and getting feedback and improving your products, you then onboard and also add additional users. And then last, so after your pilot testing and everything is going well, now this is when you can go to market. So most of the times you find when you're starting out, if your product is existing already, you always have to now have a go-to-market strategy. So where you launch to everyone, you've done with the beta users, they get feedback, they're satisfied, and that's when you can look at, okay, now how do we really monetize? When you're starting out, you might actually be offering the service for free, but then you have to now think of how do I charge and make this so that you can make your product sustainable, you can go live. Also, you develop marketing campaigns. How will I do my outreach? How will I reach my potential customers? And how also, so one of the most important things now when you're going to market is now you have to monitor the KPIs. So what do success metrics look like, which I'll touch in the last slide. So I said within every milestone, it's important to be in constant communication with your stakeholders. So it could be your design teams, your UX, your engineers, but also your customers, so that you can be able to gather feedback and improve the user experience. A very important thing when you're covering your case study is to show what does success look like. What are you going to look out for? Because you really have to set up goals to say, like, okay, this is what we are trying to do, and what would success look like for our team we're trying to target. So for example, for a platform like this, it's of course is user acquisition metrics. So number of users that we have, the daily, weekly, and monthly, and then how many signups are we getting. And remember, when I talked about the conversion rate, so these are the people who are you on the free trial, and how many of them are actually moving to actually be now subscribers. You have to look at also user engagement metrics, so session duration, how long are people staying on the platform, what's the user activity, where are they going, which pages are they going to, what features are they using, and also page views, how many people are landing on your website. Even if it's just a landing page, you have to be able to understand how much interest you're sparking. User retention is very important because you might have a lot of signups, but a lot of people are not coming back. So you have to look at the retention rate. So how much of our customers are actually repeat users? Churn rate is how many customers are we losing in every given day? And what's the repeat usage? So the person who logged in last week, are they coming back this week, or are they using it on a daily basis? So user retention is very important. When you're looking at now the content and cost metrics, you have to look at this content that I'm offering, how many people are consuming, you know, you want to deep dive how many lessons have been targeted, and actually your customers are using them. You know, what's the cost completion rate? So if you have courses, how many of them are actually getting to the end, or they're just going through a few lessons and then they drop out? So that's very important to understand. Why are they not staying? For the tutor and educator, you have to look how many tutors are signing up, how many are completing their profiles, how many students and tutors are being matched, and what are the ratings of these tutors on your platform. I think that's very important to be able to understand, you know, is your product actually solving this problem? How can you improve the user experience for both the tutors and the students? And then last but not least, these are the monetization metrics. So you're looking at your customer acquisition costs, your customer lifetime value, your average transaction value. So that means from every customer that's purchasing, you know, what are they buying? What's the value to them? And yeah, so that's the last slide. And then have usually it's always good just to have that last slide where you can put in your contacts and say, okay, this is how our app looks like. We're open Monday to Saturday. This is our email, our phone number, and our website. So yes, so that's an example of a case study that I did. So I'll open up the floor to get any questions from you guys, anything that wasn't clear. I think it's an opportunity now to ask questions.
Awesome, awesome. That was really good.
Um, thank you very much. Any questions, guys? You're very welcome. If anyone needs me to share, I know. Let me just. I can ask you, for example, when you want to do your wireframes, because as I said, there are usually a lot of templates that are online that you can use. So to be able to mix, as I said, when you're working on your case study, your presentation has to look the best. Remember, you're in competition with very many people who are applying for this same role, so you have to make sure that your deck skills needs to be A1. You need to be able to have it colorful, bright, because that's what the first thing they look at. They won't even look at your solution. They just look at how does this guy present, because most of the job of a PM is actually working on documentation, on presentation. So it has to look well and clear, and has to look nice. As I said, UI, UX, you have to show that you have those skills. And there are very many tools that you can use, resources, decks. If you even just Google now, mobile app presentation, you know, so many online that you can download, and then you just tweak them towards whatever case study that you're working on. Let me take another. Any other question, guys? Any comments? Any advice that someone needs? Yeah, I can share with
Maybe
you
I
the
have one.
yeah. Okay. Yes, Tayo.
In, in terms of prioritization,
Taya, could you just repeat your question? I think you are breaking up. So actually, let me respond to questions in the messages. So John Miner is asking, will I share the stuff here on email? Yeah, I can share the slides that I made through this and additional resources that you can use to be able just to see what other people are doing in their case studies or similar industries. I'll share with you links to where you can just be able to check them out. As I said, when you're working on the case interview, there's really no right answer. So it's just about how first the questions that they'll give you and what they're looking out for and how you target them. As I said, remember, they're just looking at your presentation skills. Are you able to communicate a lot of information in a simple, and how is it interactive? Is it clear? How is it lively? Is it colorful? Are you able to crack and understand understand your user persona and the like? Faith, what tools have you used in this case to prepare a case study? So here I used several tools. I used Google come up with the decks. It's a paid subscription to be able to come up with just how the format would look like. So when you're looking at things like the monetization strategy, you see all these kind of things here that you can tweak. So Envanto already has so many of them that I used to just pick out and pick them to center towards what I'm looking for. So of course you have roadmaps. So they usually give it already the timeline thing on Google Slides. I used Figma to come up with these designs for the dashboard. You can also use Wizard. Let me see if I can share my screen. So Wizard you can be able to, but it's a paid subscription. So Wizard you can, and let me just load it. Yeah, so it's as a PM. Please know this could be expensive, but it really helps you shape up your skills and put you ahead of the curve. So you can see here, you can actually just do a low fidelity wireframe that you've drawn, and it will generate for you a UI for you. So it's actually very easy, and I think AI is here to make our lives easier. And you see, there are so many. So they'll ask you what you have to do. They have templates that you can use just to work on the design, or you either use. Let me see, what was the other question. What tools? So yeah, that's what I said. I used surveys because you have to conduct user research. So I used what's it called? I use Google Forms to just talk to my customers and share out a survey. And yeah, and of course ChatGPT to be able to put in the words. Sometimes it's hard. For this presentation that I showed you guys today, Lifesaver, it's free, and so you can actually literally generate slides. So you can just ask it a question and it will come up with slides for you. So let me go, for example. Yeah, give a talk on this, and we generate for you slides. So to just for every topic or every slide that I want, just be able to tell it this is what I want here, and it generates for you. So it's a very good tool to use. And yeah, let me see if there's any other question. Where do you highlight your prioritization method and why? So usually it depends, because remember, when you're looking at all the potential solutions that you have, so you can either have so the kind of frameworks that you have, it's not really necessary unless they ask you to put it there. As I said, there's not really a place. So where do you put it? You'd have to put it after your solution. So you've done it, you show this how your solution would look like. Essentially in a case study, you just do maximum of 12 slides so that you're able to present it in about 10 minutes. So where do you highlight and why it? So I think it's to show us that prioritization is a very important aspect of product management, because you get very many requests, so many features, so many improvements. Everything is worth the time. So you need to be able to show that, look, these are the biggest problems that the customer is facing, and let's focus on this because they'll give us probably a higher revenue. easier to do it, or maybe the other one will take more time. So prioritization is key. As I said, you're working with different facets of the business, and you really have to kind of mitigate all their interests. So just be able to show and discuss about how your potential solution, how you go about it. So that's the response to. Oh, yeah. So any other question in regards to the case study or how to ace your case study interviews? So if not, let me hand back. Oh, yeah. I'll share the notes with you guys. Yeah, so that you can be able just to see. But I'll also share with you a link to where you can get other kind of slides. But also another thing, it's very good to join a lot of product communities. Especially I'm in a lot in a community called Product School, which is based out of India. And when it comes to startups, I think India is where it's at. A lot of the best PMs globally come from India, so I really like to join their groups just to be able to share ideas and to see even what they're doing. They have different channels within the product school, so you can just if you just Google product school Slack, you'll be able to get it, and then you join those groups. So they have many. They have announcements, they have job interviews, they have case studies. So they have a lot of resources that you can use to be able to look out and then tailor. So as I said, with these notes, the case study, there's no right answer. So I know a lot of people will go and want to look at what people are looking for, but you have to just be able to understand and identify the problem or the real world scenario that they're asking you to do, and then tailor it towards the answer that they're looking for. So that's usually the best part about the case study interviews, that there's really no right answer. So I'll give it back. If there's no other question, I'll hand it back to um, the community leads to give some closing remarks. Um, uh, yeah, just continue. I have a question. Do you guys do physical meetups? Okay. Mhm. So, mhm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, no problem. Anyways, yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for attending. I'll share some notes afterwards, and yeah, thank you so much, and have a great weekend.